The old mansion stood on a hill. It was dark and ominous. Dead trees clawed at the rotting wood. A chill wind whistled through broken windows. Behind the mansion lay a cemetery. The graves were ancient and crumbling. Their stones were cracked and covered in moss. The air grew colder as you approached the cemetery. A sense of dread filled your heart. This was a place of shadows and whispers. It was a place where the dead refused to die. The iron gates of the cemetery creaked open. A raven let out a mournful cry. It was said that the mansion was haunted. People told stories of strange noises and eerie lights. Some claimed to have seen figures moving in the windows. But these were just stories. Or were they? The mansion had been empty for decades. No one dared to live there. The locals avoided the hill altogether. They knew that something evil lurked within those walls. It was a place where the veil between the living and the dead was thin, and sometimes it tore completely. A team of paranormal investigators arrived at the mansion. They were known as the Spectre Stompers. Their mission was to cleanse the mansion of its supernatural inhabitants. The team consisted of 4 members, each with unique skills. There was Dr. Emily Carter, the brilliant parapsychologist. She studied the paranormal and could communicate with spirits. Ben Thompson was the tech expert. He used gadgets and gizmos to detect and analyze paranormal activity. Jake O'Malley was the muscle. He was a former military man who wasn't afraid of anything. And then there was Sarah Walker. She was the sensitive of the group. Sarah had the ability to sense and see spirits. As the team unloaded their equipment, a cold wind blew through the cemetery. The hairs on the back of their necks stood on end. They knew they were not alone. The Spectre Stompers were prepared for anything. They had spent years studying the paranormal. They had faced down countless ghosts and ghouls, but this mission felt different. The mansion on Cemetery Hill had a sinister aura. It felt ancient and powerful. The Spectre Stompers entered the mansion. They were greeted by an eerie silence. Dust covered everything. Cobwebs hung from the chandeliers. The air was heavy with the smell of decay. They began their investigation in the foyer.
Sarah could sense the presence of several spirits. They were angry and restless.
Ben set up his equipment. He detected high levels of electromagnetic energy. This confirmed what Sarah was feeling. The mansion was swarming with paranormal activity. Dr. Carter tried to communicate with the spirits. She wanted to understand why they were haunting the mansion. But the spirits were not interested in talking. They attacked. Objects flew across the room. Doors slammed shut. The temperature plummeted.
Jake used his strength to hold back the attacking spirits. He gave Dr. Carter time to work her magic.
She performed an ancient ritual. The ritual would force the spirits to cross over into the light. The Spectre Stompers spent weeks clearing the mansion. Room by room, they confronted the ghosts and ghouls. They faced down banshees and poltergeists. They even encountered a terrifying shadow creature, but they never gave up. They were determined to cleanse the mansion of its darkness. After weeks of hard work, the Spectre Stompers had cleared almost every room in the mansion. Only the attic remained. They cautiously climbed the creaky stairs. The attic was dark and dusty. Cobwebs covered everything. The air was thick with the smell of mothballs.
Sarah could sense a presence in the attic, but it felt different from the other spirits. This one wasn't angry or malevolent. Hello? Is anyone there?
A faint glow appeared in the corner of the attic. The glow intensified, revealing a young man. He was transparent and shimmering. He wore a sad smile on his face.
"Who are you?" Jake asked, his voice trembling slightly.
The ghost glided towards them. He was surrounded by a soft, warm light. Unlike the other spirits, this one didn't send chills down their spines. He seemed harmless.
"My name is Daniel," the ghost said, his voice a gentle whisper. "And this is my home."
The Spectre Stompers listened intently as Daniel told his story.
"I died in the mansion many years ago. I was a kind and gentle soul. I have no desire to harm anyone."
Daniel loved the old mansion. He enjoyed watching over it from the other side. He didn't want to leave.
"Please don't make me go. I belong here."
The Spectre Stompers were taken aback. They had never encountered a ghost like Daniel before. He wasn't threatening or malicious. He just wanted to stay in his home.
"Wow, this is unexpected."
Indeed, I've never read about a spirit like this.
Dr. Carter, ever the scientist, was skeptical. She had never encountered a ghost that didn't need to move on. It went against everything she knew.
Dr. Carter, what do you think?
Dr. Carter began cautiously.
Daniel, typically spirits linger because they have unfinished business or unresolved emotions. But you seem at peace.
Daniel nodded sadly.
I am. I simply find solace in this place, in the memories it holds.
Despite Daniel's pleas, the Spectre Stompers were bound by their duty. They had to clear the mansion of all spirits. It was their job.
We tried to explain this to Daniel, but he didn't understand. He had been dead for so long, he didn't comprehend the world of the living.
Daniel's spectral form flickered as he became agitated. He tried to make them understand, but his words were lost in the static of the spectral plane. He was trapped between two worlds, unable to bridge the gap.
Sarah, however, could sense Daniel's desperation. She saw the fear in his eyes. She understood that he didn't want to leave his home.
Guys, maybe we don't have to do this.
Sarah, we have a job to do. Our job is to help spirits cross over, not let them linger.
But he's not hurting anyone. He's content here. Can't we just leave him be?
The Spectre Stompers argued amongst themselves. They had never faced a situation like this before. They didn't know what to do.
Daniel watched them, his spectral form flickering with anxiety. He could sense their conflict. He knew that his fate hung in the balance.
He's going to surge. Brace yourselves. As the argument reached its peak, Daniel panicked. He felt a surge of energy, a desperate need to escape the containment field. His form flickered violently, the warm light turning a sickly green. He didn't want to harm them, but he couldn't bear the thought of leaving his home.
The force of Daniel's fear slammed into them like a physical blow. The Spectre Stompers were thrown back, their equipment clattering to the floor. Daniel, his form translucent and erratic, hovered near the attic window. The glass rattled and strained against the force of his spectral energy. Taking advantage of the chaos, Daniel made a last-ditch effort to reason with them. He appeared before Sarah, his spectral hand hovering over hers. The touch sent a jolt of energy through her, but it wasn't painful. It was filled with a desperate sadness.
Images flashed through Sarah's mind. Daniel laughing with his family in the mansion's once grand ballroom. Daniel tending his beloved garden, now overgrown and neglected. Daniel reading peacefully by the fireplace, now cold and empty. She saw the mansion not as a decaying shell, but as it once was, filled with warmth, life, and love.
He just wants to be home.
Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. She understood now. Daniel wasn't a threat. He was simply a lost soul clinging to the last vestiges of a life he cherished. Daniel turned towards the window, his form flickering sadly. He knew he couldn't fight them. He didn't want to. He just wanted to stay in his home.
The window shattered. A rush of wind filled the attic. Daniel turned back to the Spectre Stompers one last time. He gave them a sad smile. Then, with a whisper of wind, he was gone.
The Spectre Stompers watched as Daniel's essence dissipated into the night. They felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. They had done their job, but it didn't feel like a victory. They had taken a peaceful soul from his home.
As they packed up their equipment, Sarah lingered by the window. She looked out at the cemetery, now bathed in the soft light of dawn. She couldn't shake the feeling that they had done something wrong. Daniel had just wanted to stay in his home. Was that so much to ask?